From Chicago back up to here in the U-Haul. And about, my brother came down to Chicago, helped me load up. He came up here with my Cocker Spaniel in the truck. He made it to our new house here in Madison. And halfway up, someplace around Rockford, that U-Haul quit. I had to spend the night with Cat with it. It was not my fault. That was not a fun thing. As you can see, it left a scar. But actually, I get, I get along with. She doesn't run, she's attached. Some days I'm fine, some days she wants nothing to do with it.
But it is scary, animal gets out somewhere you don't know,
Oh, they get weird.
But they can't find it. Sorry, I have all these rules about like double containment.
Cardboard box, the cardboard box.
Yeah. Rules about only
Russian doll type of thing, yeah.
We're only in the
like the dog kennel, the cat kennel, the cat carrier and stuff.
Well, no, they find pet-friendly hotels with hallways, right? Because if you're in a hotel and an open door, it's kind of, if you're in a hotel, this is your hallway. It's still a good. Yeah, I've never seen that.
Okay.
No.
What do you think?
I'm teaching advanced photography. Oh, yeah, we have 3 beginners. But we have 7. We're supposed to have just the 7 really advanced, but people got confused about the 3. It's alright.
Well, sink or swim.
Yeah, no, I'm individualizing the class. Like, I stop and take my time. So it's like 2 classes in 1 class. Which is totally cool because,
a couple sticks to make all the
they're
tables.
independent, the advanced students are very independent. They don't
We talked about a while ago.
I need
In fact, you don't want to.
Right, exactly. So it's something to do. So walking through the basic tutorials is a good use of my time.
Like to the subject, I got a basic book on Raspberry Pi because what I want to do is this is going to do it as far as power.
What were you looking to do?
Basically autopilot type. That's
Okay,
where
yeah.
but with a lot of stuff coming back.
Right, and you've got like GPS data and
I got GPS and what FPV coming back with it, things like that. So it's plus I want air checking, background air mode going on.
is the SCG, does the Raspberry Pi actually access that video feed? Okay, yeah, then I would see why it, yeah. You can't see video with an Raspberry Pi.
So anyway, my background is assembly language and then Fortran 4 and 5. So I did Fortran for decades. And then I can take an Excel spreadsheet and make look at figures and make it just simple.
Right.
I've never touched type.
Yeah, it's such a big beast.
Just the concept of how does it flow, how does it talk, how does it work? Time mother, you got something about that text that kind of gives you the basics without getting too deep?
You mean the asking?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I follow the tutorial, like the Python official tutorial. It's just half an hour and it's
okay, just go to
twice 10, someone was like, do that, so I did that. Like, okay,
so just go to 500 and just look at the tutorial and just let it all once let the light bulb go on.
Yeah, skip the first 2 pages and you can see it gets into the details about like laying down the background for like all the stuff you need to know. You install the thing, and you do the first command prompt and you start typing what they do. You don't have to like get deep into understanding like rounding error in number of institutions in Python. There's no order of like 2 to the negative or 10 to the negative or something. Like you can skip the whole paragraph.
But then no, I just am I off by 2 degrees left or 2 degrees right? Then I want to sit there and have the runner do something. Otherwise, it's probably going to come back. And then especially the farther I'm off, the more whether I fly. That type of thing. So kind of does this and then get back a little harder. We'll still need some stuff.
The real power of it, let's say, as compared to like when I do Arduino stuff, it's like, first when I do Arduino stuff, I can't really mess with strings.
Well, it's like me going back to my TI-59, right? To get that little slip card to do
Right.
things, yeah.
And everything you want, you gotta block out. Like, okay, how much memory am I gonna allocate to this? How much memory can I allocate to that?
And then what would you do when you've got to swap stuff to do a
And it almost
calculation?
the same time, right? Everything has to be synchronous. If I got the list, where like elements of the list are all different things. One's a list, one's a two-string, one's a number, one's a string. It doesn't matter. Stick it all in there.
Now, can you hook up, let's say that I took an SD of 1 gig SD at class 10 and hooked it up to a pi, or a slot. Can I use that as a dynamic RAM?
I don't know what the
Right now,
class kind of recipes are, but I guess so. I don't know what it's fast. I gotta think about
is
it.
it class 10? Is it fastest
I
one?
mean, I know that you can write video. Class 1 was designed for what is it, 1080p video rewrite.
Yeah, I mean, it's fast.
Yeah. I mean, the Raspberry Pi 3 has a significant amount of I forget what, but I mean, obviously the Raspberry Pi has like what, 2 kilobytes? So Raspberry Pi must have whatever on top of it, probably the regular model.
I didn't get up to a couple more.
It's higher than that. I mean,
I don't
I
think.
didn't run it.
Okay, yeah. The only thing is, the reason I was looking at it is that I'd like to, if I'm doing some tracking and things like that, I would like to be able to, segment that chip. And in the background, and have it store, you know, say a log, but then also have that in dynamic so that, like say, return to, you know, that type of thing. It's
Sometimes do other things.
I keep the log file separately, so if I'm going here and I get off and I want to return back to here, okay, my log tells me what I did, look at my dynamic memory, remembering all of my sure I remember it. You know what I'm saying? Basically, it's a double matrix, so that one is the active matrix, the other one is the log file.
Yeah, I don't think you'll have too much trouble with that. I mean, it's pretty easy to do. And the memory, you don't still have an issue with memory. I don't think you'll have that.
You never know, right?
You know, use my SD card and send that all. Just like, try it out.
Yeah, the 3D is amazing. In fact, anybody that, what got me onto it is one of the, I'm in a statewide model golf club, and one of the guys down Montly last month, I was telling him what I was trying to do, and he got Reno going, just died. He started blocking out a few things, and he got a new kind of thing. So I looked into the eye, and he said, definitely the 3D and that type of thing. And just what I read is just like a nightmare.
Yeah, the only issue has been for like educators who trying to like keep consistent inventory and like figure out how to make the class and if you're probably teaching Raspberry Pi classes, you're probably like working on things that are high level enough that it won't be
biggest problem, my TV studios uses a first gen Pi, after the upgrades, the memory upgrade. No, the 1B. 1B, high memory one, 512. We're using one of those for the same message board. The only problem related to it is that's the old layout, and so if we upgrade to 2 or 3, we have to swap the layout or the case. That's it. Case and case. Yeah. Oh, that deal. I fell off an old rock today during 4th of July filming. Landed sideways, and unfortunately, you know, this is the worst I had. This is
Not too bad.
yeah.
Could have been worse.
Well, the truck is only size 6 tables, so it's not well, a little higher. But I used to jump off trucks all the time, so I thought I'd be able to handle it. I'm getting old, I guess.
No, that doesn't happen. That's the famous Betty Davis quote, getting old ain't for sissies. I've been thinking about that a lot lately.
I didn't actually do the equipment packing once we got the truck, and rather than look at the checklist, we worked for for like a day, an hour on. He just threw everything in the truck that was up front.
So
I tried to climb off the truck without a ladder, and I slipped.
Hello, Chris.
island work table with benches on two sides.
Almost had to get the microphone. So, welcome to Section 67 if you've never been here before. We do a monthly meeting always the first Tuesday of the month, regardless of the holidays. I don't care. It's consistent. So,
Happy
thanks for
Explosion
coming
Day,
on the 4th of July. There are no fireworks there, unfortunately, but we should be done in time to go get fireworks and blow them up. Anyway,
We could probably
so
just convey
our
our
monthly meeting
fireplace and
structure,
go
like a show and
shop, the old
tell,
shop
there's a
zone.
7-minute
That's
timer in the
decent.
back, and so people get 7 minutes to kind of talk about their projects or what they're working on or things they've learned. And then after the end of the meeting, we'll go around and say who we are, what you're interested in, or why you're here, otherwise, and go from there. So Eric's gonna start things off.
All right. So most of you know me from working on cars, and all I ever talk about is cars, but today I'm not going to talk about cars. So I know it's hard to believe. Yes, I know. I'm trying to expand. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Jolly Rodger Telephone Company, which I'd never heard of. Until one day I came in here just sort of complaining about, I get these telemarketer calls on my phone, and Chris, of course, is like, oh, well, here, watch this funny video, he says. And so I listened to this video, and it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. And so the Jolly Rodger Telephone Company is actually a service started by a guy called Rodger Anderson, the phone guy. He's a consultant who works on phone systems during the day. I mean, he loves phones. Like, as much as I love cars and things, like this guy loves phone systems and loves setting them up. And it really annoys him that they're kind of used for evil, for telemarketers. And so he's super passionate about it. So he sort of built this service to sort of combat telemarketers and things. And he sort of figured out that for marketers and things like that, people who are spamming you on your phone, just blocking them and things like that's not good enough, right? They'll just move on to someone else. Their commodity that you can really hit them in the pocketbook is hit them with their time, to take up their time. Mm-hmm. And so he built these series of bots, robots basically, that will talk to the telemarketers so that humans don't have to. So we've all gotten those telemarketer calls where sometimes you pick it up and it kind of sounds like it's a real person, like, well, hey, I'm calling you about whatever, and you start to answer, and all of a sudden you realize like it's not really a person, and you're like, oh, So his bots are like that. They will respond in different ways to get them programmed based on sort of what happens on the other end of the call. You know, they aren't voice recognition kind of thing or whatever, but they recognize the pacing or if it stops or, you know, whatever. His main thing is to sort of get people to go back. I love it. To get people to go back to, like, you know, oh geez, I wasn't quite listening to what you said. Can you just start over? I'm really sorry. And so the person has to start at the beginning of their script again. And then in between, the really amusing part is he has like all sorts of funny vignettes that happen. Like one of, you know, his different voices. Sometimes some of them are like the busy mom, like, and the kid in the background telling about leggings, and she answers, "Oh, you know, I'm sorry, that was my daughter. Can we just start over? You know how it is with kids, you know, whatever." And so he's got a great TED Talk that talks about this. He's got a million videos on YouTube that are just really audio. Hilarious. I laugh my head off. Spend a lot of time watching these videos. I warn you that some of them are really not safe for work. Some of the telemarketers, when they start, you know, thinking that they have a real person on the line that's wasting their time, get actually very abusive, vulgar, unbelievably. Some of it's like, you know, watch which ones you're going to show with, you know, people. But some of them are really funny, and this vignettes, you know, one of them has to do with he gets a bee on his arm. He's like, okay, I can't talk right now. Like, there's a bee on my arm. Like, you keep talking, I'll be listening. You know? And then he goes at the end. He kind of says like, oh hey, that whole part where you know I said I had the bee and the thing. Like, well, okay, it's gone, but like I really wasn't listening. I was kind of distracted. Can you start over? So it's really changed my outlook about telemarketers when they call. Because if Scott were here, he would have seen the other day. I came in and I'm like, yes, I got the best call the other day. So like every time I get a call, I hope that it's a telemarketer. Because the beauty is that what happens is the calls come in, and the way it's set up is it simultaneously rings like my cell phone, and then it rings the Jolly Roger telephone company at the same time. And if it meets a criteria 0 to 100, but if it meets the high likelihood it's a telemarketer, the call will actually be answered by the Jolly Roger telephone company for me. And then it goes through the call, like I won't hear it at all, and then I get an email saying, hey, by the way, I picked up this call for you, and here's the recording of it. And so it's great. It's a great service. It's like $6 for the year. It's like $8 or $9 if you have like Google Voice, things like that. But it's the best thing ever. I love it. I really do. And so I got a great call the other day that I'll share just a small portion of it with you. And
Eric's been waiting a month for a good call.
I've been waiting. I've been waiting. I get a couple of once in a while, like different marketers, but other times you get really confused. You're like, okay, I'll call back later. Okay. But this one actually, I'm only going to play a small section. It went on for 12 minutes. 12 minutes it took up this person's time. And some of it's a little bit loud on the robot side of it. It's sometimes a little bit hard to hear the other person on the other end. But I'll play it as best I can. Let's let me go back. And again, like this telemarketer has all my information, all my business information, my name, you know, my address, my phone number. It's sort of interesting. So, and right away he's gonna say hello a couple times, and then right away he gets into a really funny vignette about what he's doing, which hopefully you can hear.
Hello? Hello?
That's the bot. That's the robot. It's waiting.
Hello?
Hello, good morning. Speaking to Eric Bowers, please.
Yes.
So my name is Tony Sanchez with
Hello?
Hello, sir.
Hey, wait. Do you have a minute? The dog was crap on the floor. I gotta deal with this. It's not horrible. Can you wait just 1 second?
Thank you.
Hello? Do you mind starting over?
Hello, sir. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Are there lots of people buying this stuff? People like me? And how do you know people like me? What makes you know me?
I'm sorry, sir. My name again is Tony Sanchez.
Starting over.
With the
Yeah.
So we see that you're just 100 miles away from Chicago. And so we are calling on a recording line to register you for free mechanical training at this year's Need Auto Mechanical Training Show coming up July 26 to 29. You are also entitled for a free.
So again, I never had to do this well. I'm working.
To
Well, this is
complete
going
the
on.
registration and ensure your spot at the event.
Mhm.
Have you already registered for the Names Automatic Chicago?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, are you already registered, sir, for Names Automatic Chicago?
Uh-huh.
So that should be the end of the call.
Oh, and you think I fall into your database? What makes you think that? You're so smart, you, that you know what kind of database I fall into?
Sure. This is again Names Automatic.
Mm-hmm.
And again, sir, we are calling on a recorded line to
Uh-huh.
register you for free mechanical training at this year's Names Automatic trade show.
Yeah.
Coming up July 26th.
I'm going to stop it there because
So you are also entitled.
it goes on again for like another 10 minutes or more. By the end, she's just like really confused. She actually gets through her script pretty far, and it actually brought someone else on the line to just sort of listen to like what's going on. So again, I say I'm working when that phone call is going on, but I probably was just waiting like, oh God, they picked it up. I can't wait to do this. So again, for me, it cost me $9 for the year. Totally worth every minute of it. And if nothing else, you go and look at the videos. It's fascinating. Just the mechanics. It's got lots of voices. Sort of older befuddled guy, a busy mom, a really kind of crass person. It's great. I love it. So. Thank you, Chris, for letting me know about it. And finding a way to spend my time.
Eric's a sucker. I was just gonna say that put money on it, so that's always good.
Yeah. Any questions?
You got a political capability on this thing too for
What do you mean?
Oh, that would be
Oh, they
hilarious if
asked
we got
about
candidates.
for robocalls from our local politicians.
Well, again, it'll sort of it'll figure out, and so after every call, the email says, "Hey, I picked up this call for you," or whatever. Do you want me to pick up this call again? If it's already set up to do that. Or if not, you can, the other way around. If it's one where it came through and you picked it up, you'll get an email saying, "Hey, I just got this call. I routed it to you. What do you want me to do with it next time?" So you can hit that.
Does it? There's a different company out there that also keeps track of the telemarketer phone numbers and kind of does the same thing and avoids it coming to your call and send it. It'd be nice if you could integrate those two so that when the politicians' numbers that they're calling from their data bank calls out that they get this person.
He probably does. I mean, again, he's a telephone guy. He loves it, and he scores every call. It's scored automatically 0 to 100 about whether it's going to be. He expects it to be a telemarketer, and so anytime it rates real high, it goes there automatically.
Sounds like he's also getting metrics on calls that you get and calls that it intercepts to.
Exactly.
If you get one where you actually want that person to talk with it, you can say, "Hey, this number is from a business I work with."
Right.
Stop
You
blocking.
accidentally put that to the wrong place. You can fix it.
Yeah.
So, other questions?
What's the next step in this arms race?
Well, yeah, that's really it. There's definitely times where there's ones where bots are talking to bots. That's awesome. I like that too. I watched the Alexa versus the whatever thing, Google. So that's just me. I guess.
So between the YouTube videos and listening to recordings and emails, you spend more time on this than you would have.
But it's so satisfying.
I mean, like I said, out of for a month, I've only gotten 2 really good calls, but it's definitely gotten rid of a bunch of them that didn't really engage it, but just ones like, hey, if you're interested in diabetic supplies, press 1. I just automatically thought that was part of the on the spammers database, and I never even had to answer that. So things like that are really.
So do you have any YouTube ones up where grandma calls and for some reason
they don't have any of that. I haven't seen any of those, but.
false positive? So does he have a disclaimer if he signs you up for $1,000 insurance scam or pyramid scheme or you say yes at the wrong time with some of this stuff, you're
But again, it wasn't you, so how can you be held responsible for it? So.
It also won't give any.
yes on your phone call.
But you need to use social to do that.
Yeah, he doesn't have anything like that, but it'd be interesting to see how that would really play out. Because I did get signed up for Automatica Chicago, by the way. So, but I don't care. Whatever, I don't care.
So is the robot his voice? I mean,
So the
it's
original
all
ones,
recorded, right?
yeah, the original ones were him, but he's expanded it out to quite a few different ones, and a lot of them are not him anymore.
He's got other actors.
He has other actors that do it. You can actually pay additional and have your own voice if you want to.
But it's just actual recorded human voice. It's not.
It's actual recorded human
It's
voice.
not
It sounds like
words or
clips.
anything.
It really sounds like it's clips that are
Very
It is
nice.
clips.
put
So like
together
if
rather well.
Yeah, if you want to do your own voice, he would say, "Here's all the phrases you're going to say," you know, and they would just record them all.
But does it actually decide which thing to play based on?
No, so if you listen to enough of these,
you
it
can-
follows a pre-programmed pattern. So it'll do like 3 ahas, and then it'll send in a different direction. And then it'll do another 3 ahas, and it'll go in a different direction, and then do another 3 ahas, and go in a different direction. So it's all just time. And the only thing that it does pay attention to is if there's a long pause.
It'll go back to hello.
It'll go back to hello.
But then does it choose a different direction depending on what it's heard?
No, it doesn't listen at all. It only puts out pre-recorded snippets, which, as you can hear, sounds.
So how does it decide which?
It doesn't. It's just all pre-scripted.
So like on
There's
this
zero
one?
intelligence at all.
It rolls a die.
Yeah, on this one, basically, like, if you listen to the whole call, you can hear it repeat again about the dog crapping on the floor again, and whatever. And again, if the telemarketer, you know, remembers that, you know, they'll get it. But sometimes they're just thrown off, didn't really hear what the guy said, that he's, you know, crapping on the floor or whatever. He just heard something and to wait or whatever.
No, I was just wondering, like, depending on, like, in its database, maybe it knows different types of telemarketers and
No.
randomly picks a script.
And then it has a couple of other versions. There's business versions that are even more complex, that basically act like, you know, I'm a secretary, like, oh, I have to take the message and give it to my boss. Tell me what you're calling about, I'm going to send it to him. And then, oh, well, he said no, but wait, tell me it again. And it just goes on. Anyway, that's my
Plenty of room
excitement
for
lately.
improvement then, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderfully vicious.
All right.
Alright, thanks, Eric.
Enjoy.
One's so good, Chris reset the meter.
Sure.
Someone else want to go first though?
I don't care. Sure, I can go. I'll be up next. Nate, come on up. We're gonna make this painful. It's gonna be
I love how painful is criteria for good.
Alright.
Ooh, ANSI.
Yep. So, if you didn't know, we are in the process of buying and renovating the building and are currently waiting for the people who are renting the building right now to be done renting the building, hopefully towards the end of this month. But to get the building ready for us to move into this fall, we have to build a new structure. And as part of the building new structure, we have to put in a bunch of steel beams. So just like this building is constructed, you can see, if you look above you, all the orange beams in here. The orange beams, a lot of people think that they're metal until you look closely and realize they're just big wooden beams. So we're building a similar structure to support a second floor for our new space, so that'll double our square footage. And our second floor is going to be built out of steel. Now the problem is that getting welders is expensive, because welders are an expensive trade to hire somebody to come and do work for you. So consequently, we figured we have welders, welding machines, and we have people who can weld, so why not figure out how to weld so that we can weld our own beams in the building together. So what we did then is I looked around online, and it turns out there's a guy, whose name is Jeremiah, who does welding exams. So if you want to become a professional welder, anybody can be a professional welder. All of you could do that if you wanted to. But you have to pass a test. And the test is that you literally take 2 pieces of steel, in this particular test, like these guys, they get held apart by about 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch, and then there's a backer that's put below them, so there's a 3rd piece of steel that goes in the middle, and you weld them together. And so this is kind of what it looks like when you weld one pass, and then you weld multiple more passes, might be up to 5 or 10 passes, to fill in that gap that's in there. So like you're literally welding and welding and welding and welding in, until you fill in the whole gap with a piece of material. Then you put it into a bend tester and you bend it in half, and you hope that it doesn't do this. This means that it failed, it broke in half. What you want it to do instead is that it should bend smoothly and cleanly and turn into a U-shaped piece of metal, and it's bent right along the weld. So at any point in the weld, if there's a stress concentration or a piece of slag or any kind of inclusion or anything else, it'll break at that point. So I'll pass a few of these around. These raw plates are pretty dirty. This one's actually halfway clean, so they're pretty heavy, so be careful. They're not super duper light. And I'll pass around one of these broken samples and a good sample so you can get a sense of what those look like. So anyway, in order to become a welder, you have to pass this type of test. So you weld the plate together, you prepare it, you bend it in half, and if it bends and it's good. You're a welder. Congratulations, you're a professional welder. If it breaks, then you're not a professional welder. You need to go back and practice some more and try it again until you can pass. So interestingly, this is the criteria used for like bridge welding and steel framing on buildings and all sorts of things. So next time you're on a bridge, you can think about the person who welded your bridge together is the person who made one of these things that didn't break. Admittedly, making one of these is actually pretty hard. It takes quite a bit of practice, like a couple weeks worth of welding at least, to practice enough to be sufficient at welding that your plates aren't gonna break when they get back. So consequently, it looks like there's a whole tub of these things, but it took everyone about at least a week, maybe several weeks worth of practice to get to the point where they were good enough to be comfortable taking the test of welding. Yep.
Those are welded?
These are all welded. Yep. Every single one of these used is a welded, tested joint.
Oh, we didn't realize that.
So
They look so good.
What kind of welding, Chris?
this is stick welding. So
okay.
I'll back up a couple steps to talk about that. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood the idea of these things are that you're starting with two broken apart, separated pieces like this. You put them together close by, so they're about a 1/4 inch gap. And then you literally weld, so that's this big band going down the middle. You fill it in with new material, and you just weld it till it's completely filled back in. And then you grind the weld off, and you grind and cut this backing plate off. And then you polish the surface until it's nice and clean looking, like these. So this is a weld joint in the middle. And then you bend it in half, and it can't break. If it breaks, then you fail and you start over. So these ones, you can see like this one failed. It's got a big rip where it's at the edge of the weld. And so you weld, when you bend it both directions. So one is a face bend, so that's where this wide part is, and one is a root bend, which is the back part. So you bend both of them to check to make sure that both the root and the face are sufficient. So at any rate, there were 4 of us that decided to do this, and we all passed, which was good. And then Scott and I did a second form of welding, which allowed us to pass for another criteria. So the next thing to understand is the different welding positions. So it'd be really nice if you could just weld this flat on the table, and like sitting like this, and sit and look above it and weld on it. But you don't get to do that. The first test is vertical, so you weld this part going up this way, and the second test is overhead. So you weld it like this. So 4 people tried and passed the vertical weld, which is what this is, and then Scott and I did an overhead weld like this, and we're able to pass that as well. So this weld was made vertically this way. So you start with this gap sitting vertically, and you fill it in and fill it in and fill it in and fill it in. So those samples that you're seeing, those are either vertical welds or they're overhead welds, depending if they say 3G or 4G. So 3G is a vertical position and 4G is overhead. So in short, we decided to take this test and give it a shot and see what we could do, and we were successful in it. The other thing that we did though is we built a testing jig, because there's no point in having a guy come and test you if you haven't tested to see if your welds are going to fail beforehand. So what this thing is, it goes in the hydraulic press, and there's just a big hole in it. And you line up your sample, so like your U-shaped sample would go flat in here before it's bent. And then we made this thing, which is a press plate that presses in here and bends it into a U. And this thing I'm not going to pass around for obvious reasons, it's super heavy. But the idea being is we wanted to be able to test our own welds before we had the guy come and officially test it. He was very kind and decided to donate his time in administrating the test. It would normally be $500 per test. So we tested 6 tests, so that's very generous of him to do. He's a professional welder and a teacher at Blackhawk Technical School down in Rock County. And so he's up here welding during the summer, and like I said, came and administered a test and certified us, and so we were good to weld things together. So somebody asked earlier about what the process is. So the process is actually stick welding, which is these guys. So I'll pass this around. This is actually a bad stick. It's got a big blob of flux in the middle of it. But what that stick is it's literally a piece of wire. In this case, this filler is called E7018. So that metal is 7,000 psi yield strength. That means you could have 7,000 pounds per square inch in probably tension on it, and it wouldn't break. So we could hang like a car from that rod and it probably wouldn't break. It's really strong stuff. The problem then is it's hard to weld. So you can weld with lots of stick welding rods and they fill really beautifully and they work really well. But in this case, this stuff does not do that because it has really good mechanical properties, and that's what you're after, the mechanical properties of it. So stick welding is really simple. The welder is set to like about 20 some volts basically, like 2 car batteries would be sufficient. and about 100 amps, and you have like a battery clamp that comes over and grabs onto that rod, and you touch the other rod to the other end of the metal, and it just melts. And so as it's melting, you sit and bring the rod in closer and closer and closer and closer and work your way along the plate until you run out, and then you grab another rod, you do it again, you grab another rod, you do it again, you grab another rod, and do it again until it's full. So that's all I got. Got 10 seconds. Anybody got any?
What's the biggest challenge in making a good weld?
Cleanliness. Your parts have to be really, really, really clean. So
Practice.
these are all ground and polished and cleaned up before we start welding, and that's like the foundation of a good weld. Is it's got to be really clean. The second part is just consistency and handling the material and keeping your arc length really consistent. So, which is all in seeing. That's the number one most difficult thing when I teach people how to weld. Is you'll find out whether you need glasses, A, and B, whether you have the right prescription for your glasses. Because it's really hard to see, and that's the number one problem I've had. Anybody can learn how to weld. Welding's really easy, as long as you can see what you're doing. If you can't see what you're doing, you have no chance at welding very well, because you physically can't see the arc and the pool and all that stuff.
You're using dark glasses, right?
Yep, so you have a set of glasses over you, but I mean, like, fundamentally, if you can't focus at a pretty close range and keep that focus comfortably, you can't weld because you can't see what you're doing. So you got to be about yay far away from your nose is where you're going to be welding at a comfortable distance. So if your eyeglasses aren't good and you can't focus at that depth, it's like a non-starter. You just can't do it.
Is it harder because of the
It's
limited light?
very dark, and you have a little green glow, which is what you're using to weld. And you've got to judge both your direction and where you're headed, as well as what you've done and what the pool looks like, the weld pool behind you with this really bright arc right in the middle of it. So yeah, that makes it all hard. The other thing is your window's about this big. So and you can get a big welding window, but it doesn't help that much. So,
If you have trifocals, it's a real pain in the ass.
When the arc starts, everything turns dark, and basically all you see is black and then a hot spot. And so you have a very difficult time telling how fast you're moving and what you're doing, because you can't reference anything around you really. And that's what makes it challenging. The other thing is that just because you pass this test in one situation doesn't actually mean you can weld on a bridge. It just means you'll get the phone call possibly to weld on the bridge, at which point you'll get there and you'll say, I'm ready to weld, and they'll say, no, your first day is actually going to be passing the test again in front of us. Because they don't care that you can just actually bend that piece of metal and it not break. They want to see how fast you can do it, because time is money for them. And if you can't weld efficiently enough, they'll actually walk you off the job site.
So just for reference, how fast do you go through a stick?
So in general, this plate here, one pass vertically is one stick.
So you're going through a lot of sticks.
So you're going through a lot of, this is probably, I don't know, use 8 sticks maybe? 8 to 10. 8 to 10 sticks to fill this in. That's with slightly smaller sticks. The stick I passed around is 1/8 inch. That's closer to maybe 5 to 8-ish sticks. So you can get different diameters of weld filler.
I guess that was my next question, are there thermal issues that you would actually be more practical? You'd say a big stick to fill a big hole. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, in general you use a big stick to fill a big hole, but you can only add so much heat to the hole per time. So you do want to make multiple passes, and in practice it's done that way. Now in reality, do you ever weld a 1/4 inch gap in it's called a groove weld? No, you don't. But for the purposes of a test, it's a very effective test because you have to fill all that material in. So when it bends, you've got a very big distance to bend over. And so it shows you how your weld penetrated and stuck. But in practice, you're typically doing like a joint like this, and you're just filling the edge with about a 1/4 inch bead. Whereas this is like a 3/4 inch bead at the top. It's huge. It's a really big filler piece. So, and then the other thing that I didn't tell you is you also have to take this plate then, and this plate goes into the bandsaw and it gets cut into 5 pieces. And then we take it back inside there and we grind off the top. And if you grind into the plate at all, you fail immediately. So you can't grind below the level of the weld or your plate is garbage. And on the back, you have to cut this backer off with also not grinding into the weld. So it's not only welding, but it's also handling a grinder and doing sample preparation and post cleaning and sanding it all down. And you can't cut more than a 32nd of an inch into the plate at any point at all. Even an undercut with your weld can't be more than a 32nd of an inch. So you've got a little probe thing that runs along the edge. If it goes in at 32nd, then you're done. So it's an automatic fail. And if your weld is more than a 1/4 inch tall, it's also an automatic fail. So it's a whole bunch of other criteria that are not. It's all in this, I forget how many pages is in here. 569 page manual. So just read that and it's not a big deal. Yep.
What if more of us want, I'm not saying official through the guy who came in and volunteered his time wonderfully, More of us wanted to go through this test like just informally to see how we do, or to practice.
Yeah, usually you
for-
can just weld a piece and you just bend it over on the vise and you can see whether your part breaks or not.
Okay.
But yeah, the purposes of this are strictly just for this test. The steel stock to test a piece is about $15 for the steel. This filler, I can't remember what it is per stick. It's not very cheap. It costs quite a bit of money to play with this stuff because it's just used literally for structural steel welding, so it's expensive. There's other fillers that are much cheaper and other ways of welding that are easier to do. Stick welding isn't used very often a lot except for structural stuff.
But since this one's a specific application, you need the specific stuff, which is
What's
a little
used
more
for real.
expensive.
Yeah.
So was this more difficult than other kinds of welding? I mean, other stick welding?
Yeah, any other stick welding, you'd use a much easier stick to weld with. Yeah.
Is the stick itself just so?
Yeah, the stick itself is built out of different materials. They're all really bad for you, but it turns out if you throw enough, like, what's usually in them, I forget. There's like chrome and all, like chromal and all sorts of bad for manganese and all sorts of bad stuff for you. This has got manganese in the flux, which makes it flow real well. But manganese is bad for exposure, for a variety of nerve damage and other fun stuff. So welders, not the best trade, but you get paid pretty decent for it. Underwater welding, that's where it's at. Then there's no fumes to worry about.
What did you use to cut off that backing pipe?
Angle grinder, you grind the back off.
You grind all the way down.
Yep, and then you break
piece?
then you break the
God.
or you can put it on the mill, but usually you grind them off. It just depends. Any other great questions? Cool. So, stick welding in a nutshell, fun and entertaining. Generally, very few things are stick welded. Most things are MIG welded, especially around here. Occasionally we use the TIG welder, but stick welding, like I say, is just used for real thick steel plates and things like that.
So is that why you couldn't use MIG because of thickness?
The thickness, technically you could MIG weld this, and like the manufacturing company that's gonna make all the steel for the building, they do flux core MIG welding for all their stuff. So it can be done, but it's just a different type of test. And the thing that's good with stick welding is we have many stick welders, like pretty much all the welders that we have can stick weld, versus we only have one MIG welder that would be big enough to do this. So that would be a throughput limiter. So we're better off doing stick welding than MIG welding.
Do you want to say anything about what you're gonna have to do to the building, or save that for later?
I think that'll be another presentation topic, but
That would be very, very interesting to hear.
yeah, the building is being designed by a structural engineer for the structure and the other things. So we're literally being the hands and fingers of the engineer's design in this case. So you have to have a professional engineering certificate from the state to be able to do building design and things. So yeah, we're working with somebody on that. It'll be fun and entertaining. We'll find out by the end of winter if we have or the end of summer here if we have a warm box to move into. So.
You think it's gonna come together that quick?
What's that?
Gonna come together that quick, you think?
Yeah, our landlord's gonna bulldoze half this building by then, so whether or not it comes together, we'll be moving. So we'll be moving either way.
more important things to worry about than whether or not it's built yet. Sadly.
Yeah, so we'll be figuring that out when we get there. Devin, do you wanna go next?
Sure, yeah.
Just gotta go fetch.
Oh, sure, you go nuts. Did you wanna play audio or just a video?
Just video.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
So Chris, when are we gonna just like have a truck backed up to here? I need 5 guys.
Probably sometime this winter.
Okay.
Devin's grabbing his big kite.
Oh, he's doing the bee, isn't he? That bee kite he had?
No, it's like butterflies.
Butterfly kites? Still cool. Wait, is he the one that was working on the bee, or is that someone else? That was you.
Oh, can we give him the front one?
Where's Mark? Oh, no, Mark. Nate, you might have to get a stand in. You want to kill the lights? But just the front and the back light.
Oh yeah, that'd be good actually.
Yep, the other one's fine too.
Ready?
I've been interested in kite building for a few years. It's really a rich, fun hobby pastime. There's a lot of art design you can incorporate into it.
history even, engineering questions you can look into. And the physics of flight is really fascinating. And obviously just really fun to get outside and fly a kite. But last year I decided to try something a little bit more involved in the projects I've been doing with a traditional Japanese Edo kite. And Japan is kind of the place where the kind of richest tradition of kite flying and kite building has developed over the years. The Edo kite is unique among kites. For one thing, it has this vertical rectangle shape, which really kind of suits it to graphic design artwork, and that's really been developed in a rigorous way in Japan. And then it also flies in a different way from other kinds of kites. Most other kinds of kites will use something like tails, for example, or a keel, or contours in the sail for stability, for aerodynamic stability, to keep up in the air, flying straight. But the Edo uses a different principle with very long bridle lines, numerous long bridle lines. And these are wound up, daisy chained. But these lines are about 10 times as long as the height of the kite. They're about 45 feet long. And there are 10 of them. And it's a pretty thick line too. It's 100-pound Dacron line. So apparently what happens with the Edo kite is that the long bridle lines, the long numerous bridle lines, shift the center of gravity of the whole kite bridle assembly forward of the sail. And when, for example, the wind is shifting, swirling around, the kite and the bridle sort of swing around that center of gravity, and that's what keeps the kite flying straight, keeps it up in the air. I have a clip here I can play real quick to show. Actual kite, modern day kite festival in Japan. And this is a variation of the Edo, a really huge one. And the traditional Edos, this one's really gigantic. Dangerous, we'll see. Are built with bamboo and washi paper, which is a traditional paper made from the inner bark of a mulberry tree in Japan. And they can be scaled up and be made really, really huge. And in different parts of Japan, different towns, villages, they have varied kinds of designs they make, and different. They use them for kite fighting as well. So it's just a really, really fascinating. This one, yeah, it's really gigantic with bamboo spars, and these are all the pieces of washi paper, all being pasted together to make the kite. So I built one of these last year, and I was kind of just thinking about more kinds of ways to explore the design of the sail. One idea I looked at was just sort of different ways to get the ripstop nylon designs. This ripstop nylon is put together with reverse applique, which is where you stitch numerous layers of fabric together, and then with the scissors carefully clip along the stitches. And you can see it. It's in the wrong direction, but it creates a really beautiful kind of stained glass effect in the sky, and you get these nice, rich, saturated colors. So, looking at different ways to decorate those, I was thinking about, I guess things in the news, especially our endangered natural heritage. All around the world, the wildlife and plants are all dying, disappearing, and that's in the context of, for example, things like the Endangered Species Act, different laws, frameworks being taken apart. Also, and also, the culture, the people becoming less and less interested in nature. So I just thought it could be neat to explore an educational project. And then thinking about wildlife, nature, butterflies have especially pretty, fabulous wing patterns. And so the project that I'm working on right now is kind of a series intended to sort of interpret, explain, just the beauty of our natural heritage, I guess, especially using the butterfly as a model or a focal point, I guess. And the way that I've designed these kites is to use the actual photographs with permission, either with permission or public domain photographs. And then there's a neat thing you can do in Adobe Illustrator called Live Trace. You can put a raster image and then hit Live Trace, and it'll turn that raster image. It'll sample all the pixels and create vector shapes. And that's how I've gotten these kind of neat abstract shapes is with Live Trace and Adobe Illustrator, and going back and forth between Illustrator and Photoshop to get the final design. These are a couple of critically endangered butterflies, the polychic skipperling and the early hair streak, and I have sales drones I'm working on for those. I also got a minute left. With the idea of building a series of these kites, I've also started up with an Indiegogo crowdfunding thing, which I don't think I quite put together yet because it hasn't gotten any donations or much many views at all. But I'll share that again. You can all have a look at it. I think I have some kind of interesting premiums for it, including these nice Highlinders that I've designed for CNC for the wood router. The bigger one and the little one, and then also I can make these are a few $100 the premium for that thing, but an Ohashi variant kite. This is a this has the same shape as the Edo kite, but it's a lot easier to put together and fly. You can see the difference. It's not as elegant as the Edo kite, but the spars and everything, but it's really easy to put up in the air and keep up in the air. So that's basically. I'll mention this kite quick. This is with the same idea. I made this one. This is the critically endangered rusty-patched bumblebee, which used to be a common animal. And interestingly, one of the last places where it still survives. They've been eliminated almost everywhere. Is over in the Arboretum. At least as of last summer, there were still some. I don't know if they're going to.
What's it called?
Rusty-patched bumblebee. Bombus affinis. So this is based on a design that I do freehand and then transferred PDF out of it and transfer the fabric. So yeah, that's the general idea. Questions? Yeah.
How do you transfer your image from Adobe to full scale?
It's real simple. You just make the image into, and it's just lines, just the vector lines, into a full-size PDF, and then you use tile and PDF print menu, and then just print out a bunch of sheets, and you use a good deal of overlap, like 1.5 inches, and just paste them together. And then this stuff is transparent enough that it's really easy to see through, and you just use a fabric pencil and trace them off lines. Yeah?
So you're making a stack of fabric, and on the top one you're drawing with a chalk marker where you're going to sew, or how do you?
Well, like, let's see here. For this one, what I would have done was to start out with the white, the lightest color, and have a full sheet of that, a full yard of that, in this case, because these are about as big as a yard of fabric. And I would trace the lines with the white, and then I would start to try to conserve fabric as much as possible, because it really can consume a lot of fabric. Put like a piece of red right here, paste it down with washable paste, which you can just hose off. It comes off really easy. Some red over here. Take care of all the red, and then do all the green, and then do the light blue, and then lastly paste on navy blue, which is my last color here. And those all pasted together with washable glue. Then I can start stitching along the lines. And I'd flip the fabric over so that I can see the lines on the white, and then just use a zigzag stitch with the sewing machine to paste over. Is that pretty clear? And then carefully come back with the scissors and cut out all the fabric that I don't want, to reveal the one color for the panel. It's a good staple.
What's the black on the front end here?
Yeah.
The black, you mean the lines?
Yeah.
That's navy blue.
Okay, so that's actually a narrow strip of color you need as well.
Yeah.
On top of yellow and white?
Yes. Well, it would have been a whole piece of blue, navy blue. This all would have been navy blue before I started clipping.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then I just go with the scissors real carefully and just clip right along the stitches.
Yeah, it's just blue is over most of it. Like the red, you just use small pieces.
Yep.
You need this stuff.
Yeah. The only full sheets of fabric I would have had here would have been the white, which I had to to fill in the white panels and to do the transfer. And then I would have to try to conserve fabric, just use smaller pieces of the other colors, and then put the blue on top of the whole thing, the navy blue. Yeah, I think you were next.
How many hours does it take to complete like that type?
It's a lot of work. I don't know. A lot of late nights here. 25 hours maybe for that one. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
How come the stitches don't show on the front?
Because I use black thread. So black thread just against the navy blue, you can hardly see it.
Oh,
So you
white
see-
thread in the back. How come it's way so different?
Oh, I had white thread in the bobbin. That's why it's white in the back. I was being lazy. I was using up the white thread that was on the one bobbin that fits in my sewing machine. So yeah.
I would struggle to say that anything was lazy about that, but maybe the white was the one.
There had to be something just lazy about it. It's just like,
Yeah, the B was a little different. The B I did the design basically the same. I had a full or most of a sheet of light gray, I think, or it might even. Yeah, I guess I used the light gray to transfer the pattern, and then when I had the whole B cut out, including the outline, then I put it on the white, this big piece of white. I pasted it on there, and then stitched all the way around the whole outside again. So everything around the outside is a double zigzag stitch.
When you're flying it, does the more visual side face the ground or the sky?
It's kind of facing right at you, I guess.
Yeah, it's tilted down.
Yeah. I'll play, if I can take just a minute, I'll play the, I'll just keep this video going here, and it's gonna get that same kite up in the air. That's right. So there's just one of my planned drawings creating a color scheme. Here, that's that animal. That's the endangered Carner blue butterfly. Really interesting. Restricted to a very specific kind of habitat, and it has the larvae only eat wild bluefin. And the habitat needs to be burned, and it needs other kinds of management to maintain the right kind of physical structure. Also, it's kind of a demanding. This little animal. This species was also described to science by Vladimir Nabokov, a novelist who was a very accomplished amateur entomologist. So it has the full name of this is the Latin name, and then Nabokov he discovered it. We have them in northern Wisconsin. So here's that same kite. The long bridle lines. The bridle comb, which is another kind of neat part of the kind of artifacts of this, is the comb, which is tied right into the bridle, which you use to straighten out the lines before you fly. And then this is that same kite in the air. And you can see the long bridle lines. This just looks really cool in the sky. It looks like a suspension bridge up in the sky. It's just really neat. Architectural, just really, really cool. They look neat, also hung up in like in a gallery space indoors. That's the idea for the project is putting together videos and then gallery display in kind of educational settings, I guess.
Is the kite steerable?
The Sort of. It's just a single line kite, but you can see the videos of like the kite festival in Japan. There's all this kind of art and science of fighting with them. So one thing that they'll do is they'll actually just fly it right from the bridle to a point from the bottom, and then for the really huge ones, will be several guys will be yanking on the bridle lines to turn the kite left, right, straight up, and they're trying to knock down the opponent team's kite, destroy it, knock it into the river, whatever. There's really spectacular stuff. One way you can steer them too is a single line kite, and this is how fighter kites work, which is a specific kind of fighter kite, is just give the kite slack, and it might either, like the nose might turn straight up if you do that, or when you're off in one direction, then if you pull on it again, it'll tend to fly in that direction it's going. So, thanks very much.
Here you go. So I put a link to Devin's project on the Facebook feed and on the Twitter feed if you guys are looking for it. There it goes. So,
Alright, so with my 7 minutes, I'm going to spend about less than a minute just saying what I'm doing right now. I'm currently teaching advanced topics in computer science at the UW for high school students in a kind of gifted camp program. So this year, I asked them last year if they could split the program into 2 classes, an introductory level and an advanced level, and they did, and so now I'm teaching the advanced level. We're covering tons of different topics as listed on the slide, and then today, for example, we're working on making decision trees that classify whether a word should be EI or IE, right? If you have the word neighbor, is it an EI or an IE, right? So we're trying to come up with a procedurally generated decision tree to figure that out. And on the right, we have a 3D plot of entropy in this kind of system here. We're talking about entropy of a data set. Don't worry about it too much, but you have probabilities PQ and the remainder, you get this cool little plot. So these are in textbooks, but only in 2D because textbooks are like paper. So I can show my kids things in 3D. It's really fun. All right, don't you have too much time to talk about that because I'm moving away from Madison. I'm really sad about that. The emoticon expresses my feelings. I moved here in January of 2014, and I immediately just I called Chris on a Friday. I was like, "Are you open?" And he's like, "Yeah, we have meetings until 7, or whatever, tours until 7. I showed up and I'm like, "I'm signing now. I want to be here." I love Sector. It's been the central point of my life for the last number of years, and started on the West Coast and kind of made my way towards the East Coast. Keep going up in the time zones. Don't know where I'll end up permanently, but it might be Massachusetts. So. Sector means a lot to me, and I just have this quick montage of different things that I did at Sector. Firstly, I moved all my stuff off my dining room table, no more bits of lead, where to eat. Went to First Robotics, visited St. Louis, 3D printed, 3D designed. I never 3D printed before I got here. It's crazy. Now it's like, I don't know, I always do it. I learned how to weld. I still need a lot of practice. You don't want to let me weld in the building. I constructed office furniture. I tried to fit all those pieces of OSB in my tiny car. I made puzzles, I made them public domain, and then I bothered everybody about my ideas about copyright law. Made a giant 7-segment display and then did nothing with it. Played with machine vision. I made cardboardicopter out of frustration, and it flew. Like, it flew right here. You have the proof. It was crazy. It just glued the pieces of a drone to a piece of paper, piece of cardboard. That was insane. I made some things that really just didn't work out. I made this telegraph player. That was one of the most unique things I did this year. Had fun with IR vision. Rode cool vehicles that other people made in parades, and also managed to break a few and bust my knee open. Made stuff on the CNC using scrap recycled exotic hardwoods. Made a bunch of autonomous robots. did CGI art, taught a class in CGI art. Wasn't a band. I had a painting, I had 2 painting robots. I made some talking calipers and I won a big prize. And this is all through Sector, like all of this facilitated by being here, by meeting you guys, and by hanging out with you guys. Printed some really large things. I programmed some really interesting robots and had great collaborations with people here in Sector, in this space. I cast stuff in iron at the iron core. I explored Madison's history from the inside, from the municipal building where we tore it apart. We got to see all these things, like, you know, behind the scenes, and no one else got to see this stuff. We made a BattleBots application. We celebrated all kinds of life events. Accompanied a drone over a frozen lake. I'd never walked on a frozen lake before. I'm from LA. I never left home without a hot glue gun. Chris knows that. Made props, learned a lot from Aaron and other people here who do all kinds of prop making. Did vapor polishing, made circuit boards, made more robots, laser cutting, robotics, mold making, food safe mold making as well, precision GPS, sewing. I did not know how to sew before this. Car maintenance, this is really important actually, that was very valuable. Video games, Roomba teardowns, suspicious looking projects, safe operating procedures, made friends with that cat, she's a little finicky. I can't live without hackerspace. Like, this was my dorm room when I was in college. Like, to me, hackerspace access, like, it is a central point of my life. It's not a huge crowd here today, but I don't normally shill for any kind of, like, you know, cause, but I shill for this one. Like, I don't even repost my mom's cancer research stuff, but, like, I'm gonna tell you guys to donate to Sector, because it's, like, it means more than anything to me. And, alright, what am I doing next? So, sticking all my stuff in a cube that looks just like this, and driving to Massachusetts with my cat, and I'm gonna start working at a makerspace, but before that, I have this problem. So, UMass Amherst, basically, so I moved here when I quit graduate school in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and my fiance was here at the UW doing his PhD, so I said, okay, well, I'm not moving back home to my hometown, I'm not moving back to LA, I'm gonna move to Madison, and I'll see what's over there and then figure it out. I knew I would have to leave eventually, and Scott and I have found a place where we can both have a job that we like within a mile and a half of each other. We can both walk to work, and that's Amherst. I will be involved in the M5 makerspace and in the planning of the new makerspace. So I've got a leadership role. I'm really excited to do some planning and get in on the ground floor of a brand new project. I'm also teaching at Hampshire College. I'm actually faculty. That's crazy. I didn't even think that could happen. So I'm invited to the mandatory faculty meet. I mean, like, it's crazy. So I'm teaching artists how to do electronics. I'm so excited about that. I'm really sad to move from Sector, but I'm trying to focus on the stuff I'm excited for so I don't lie down and cry a lot. So yeah, thinking a little further ahead, maybe if the second floor doesn't fall down, structural welding is I could be a hacker in residence maybe one day, and I'd love to visit again. I'd love to spend a summer here. It's kind of a long-term future idea, but I don't think it's the last you'll see of me. I'll be back. I'll talk fast. All right, perfect. Questions after a presentation in that vein, but if you did, I would answer them, yeah.
Have you recruited a replacement?
So I was thinking about doing, like, if I stayed here in Madison, I was going to maybe work with Chris and do this educational outreach stuff, but I'm sure there's lots of people we've worked with, you know, Nate and lots of other people who've been on these events and done a lot of educational outreach, and I'm sure somebody will replace me in that sense.
I just want to say, I don't think Sector would be what it is today if you hadn't been here. Thank you, Shira.
I wouldn't be who I am today without Sector. I'm serious.
Well, we wouldn't either.
It'd be weird. Thank you. I really appreciate all the time we've had.
Thanks for being
Jim, do you want to talk about scamming another foundation of maybe? Could be you and Shira joint project.
No, I don't think it was a scam. I think they have a lot of money to give away. If it happens again, I would encourage not everyone, but a fair number of people. Because at some point they'll probably go, wow, Madison's way too prolific. But the bar seems to be fairly low for winning a lot of money from a company.
So maybe back up a few steps. What did you guys enter and what's it all about?
All right, so Indie Makers is a foundation set up, I'm sure, as a tax stock. They have to do I'm guessing based on their stock portfolio return, 10%. So this year it was $250,000 with a very low bar for entry and success. So three teams entered, 4 tried. So 3 teams got their entries in. All 3 won, which was really cool.
There are 25 winners, right?
There were 25 winners of $10,000 each.
3 of them are in Madison. 3 of them are here.
3 were in Madison. There's some vague criteria about entry, probably even vaguer criteria for scoring. But the bottom line is everybody that entered won, so that's a pretty good return rate. All the teams are affiliated with Sector in the sense that we're done here and motivated to contribute to Sector as part of their success, which is kind of cool. They've done this now 3 years running.
Yeah, Jesse did the first year. Was it 3 years?
Yeah, I think Sector members have won several times now.
We had a total of what, 50 grand?
I think it's 50,000.
Yeah, so we're helping them to make their obligations as a not-for-profit.
They asked for some sort of results after?
There's actually no, you could go out and have a beer party with them.
You can't even get a hold of anybody. But eventually it does come. It just takes like 4 months.
So I get news notifications now about Infosys, the company. So this is an Indian IT solutions company. It's huge in India. They're trying to move into the U.S. They're going to build 4 campuses in the next few years. The first one is in Indianapolis, and the idea is that the H-1B visa reforms are causing them to change their strategy and try to come up with actual campuses in the U.S. with like U.S. workers, right? So this is like part of their like push to enter the U.S. market.
So they're dumping money to make a good brand.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that they're devastating the local market for U.S. citizens in IT, and it's true. They're also a fairly progressive company. I think they were one of the first companies to fully fund and become completely solar at their main campus in India. So they're putting a lot of money in the heads of the company are very forward thinking in terms of not just their PR stuff, but also their environmental impact and their impact on society. You could argue whether they're impacting the IT market fairly or honestly. That's a different question. But as part of that, they're giving a ton of money away every year, and I think they're obliged to and definitely motivated to. Their administration of it is to not spend anything on publicity and spend very, very little on administration. So they're looking basically just to get a chunk of money away with no strings attached and not a lot of complications. So it's perfect for somebody who wants to on a weekend throw together a 90-second video. It's a pretty good deal.
And if you want to double your money, there's the Hackaday prize, which is currently running and is also giving away $250,000. The bar is not that high for that one either. I write for Hackaday, so I can't participate, but it would be awesome if there were more projects that were participating in this. We would definitely like to see the quality of entries go up. And the bar, like, it's really not that hard to enter your project into.
So anyway, I thought that was fun to share since we did Shira and Jim here anyway. So Scott Austin, his boys, actually did a firefighting position tracker in building. The idea is it uses an inertial navigation unit to try to track the location of a person inside of a building where other navigation solutions don't work. So basically, when a firefighter enters a building and goes in 100 feet, and hangs a right, and hangs a left, and hangs a right, this thing can keep track of where they are and then beam that out so someone outside can go, oh, they went in, they went right, they went left, they went right, so we'll do the same thing and see if we can find them if they aren't making that out. So that's what they built anyway. So they built a prototype unit and put a video together and entered it. So pretty cool. Anybody else have anything else to present or talk about? Because I don't think there's anything else, which is great. No?
As part of the Incubator's presentation, we did a concept idea to kill carbon, which is what we want. And we're hoping to pursue that at least to the point of seeing if it actually works. So we're putting together a team to build some small prototypes to test the first facet of it, which is can the park be hurted by noise. So if you're interested, talk to John or myself. We're hoping to do it on a low budget, not spend all the $10,000 on that. But pursue it just up to the point that we can possibly have technology to offer up. Michigan, the state of Michigan is developing price. I'm on the list when they tell me when it's actually ready, but they're giving away, I think,
$1 million.
$750,000 to innovative prizes for park management in basic clarifications. We may build towards enhancing.
There's a couple of basic things we need, and that is to find out, we need to know more about that fish. What it's susceptible to, how does it respond? We also have to know about once we know what that fish responds to, we've got to know how that spectrum plays out in the water. You know, in different waterways and things like that, because you're in a different environment there. So it's a lot of technology. And then the biggest thing is to sit there and find out how does it work. And to that end, if somebody's got a couple submersible cameras, you know, we could really use those for a while, because that's the proof of the pudding. Can we go from A to B and get something to happen?
The idea is to try to herd the carp into an electrified grid above the water.
Well, electrified grid or nothing. Quite honestly, if we find out how to herd them, I'm convinced that we could probably, under conventional methods, increase the yield. You know, and that's not a bad deal either.
I have a noisy airport down this road.
The goal is to start with the things that might not electrocute people. And ultimately, the carp are noted for their smarts. They avoid the same situation that endanger them. So the first key will be to see, can you steer them correctly into a location? If you can't do that, then any other means of showing them once you get them into that probably don't work. So, and it'll be fun to play.
They are very electrosensitive.
They're electrosensitive and very noise sensitive.
Have you contacted or been in touch with Don Novotny from the university?
No, but I was hoping to talk to some folks in the
And I took courses from him. Is he
Did
still
you?
around?
I think he's still around. I don't know. I retired 8 years ago, so
Okay.
he may have died in the interim for all I know.
No,
But
I knew Don
he's,
very well.
Don did some research on electrofishing.
Really?
Yeah.
So the electrofishing is sort of the end state one.
It's been decades since I talked to him.
Yeah, so we're hoping to talk to some people that actually know what they're doing. There's a lot of money potentially coming up with effective ways to catch these two species of carp.
Sure.
Him and Norb Schmitz wrote the books.
Yep, they did.
Alright, well thanks everybody for coming. We can go around and just say who you are, what you're interested in, why you're here, and you're welcome to hang around afterwards. So, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Dick Pantalone. I recently moved here from out of country, and my wife's originally from Richmond Center, and I'm recently retired also. I don't know anything about any of the stuff we talked about, but I'm very interested in finding out more about learning, and also I have a couple ideas regarding I don't know how to describe it, simple applications in third world countries as related to medical care. I'm a surgeon, and I worked overseas a lot, and I have some things I've seen overseas. I thought, you know, there's got to be a better way to do this. So now I have the time to maybe figure it out.
I'm John Wiley. I've long retired from the university. I used to be the chancellor there, and I've belonged to Sector 67 since it opened.
A few months ago, after 25 years of construction, cabinet making and everything, I'm sort of retiring and just still exploring like what there is to do around here. But of course I got roped into the new building, which is actually like extremely interesting, so that's fun.
I'm Eric Powers. I do a lot of car stuff around here, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time right now. My car nerds are going to be here starting Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Our little Honda Insight group's going to hang out here and talk about nerdy car stuff way more in depth than anybody really should know.
It's Insight Fest.
Insight Fest!
Insight
Yeah!
Fest.
So, all right.
I'm Davi Post. I'm a member. I like to program in Python and play the game Go. And I created knitting machine software here with Tanya Cunningham, who's not here.
I'm Doug. I do some radios.
My name is Jim Russ.
Brian, I'm over here. Mainly been live streaming Zoom meetings. My activity, I do other stuff too. I'm Bob. I'm a member. I do a lot of electronics and IoT stuff.
I'm Nate, I'm a member. I do software, electronics, and mechanical design.
I'm Devin.
Yes, he's building a dump truck out front.
My name is Chris. I'm trying to monitor water quality with various sensors and a raspberry Pi.
I'm Mark. I'm making a quarter of a ball and helping with the demo of the building. Sean, carpenter, has been doing as much as he works that down a little bit extra.
I'm Richard Jones. I own Studio Parent across the street from Class 1 Studio. And coming over here to expand my horizons.
Hi, I'm Shira, and I'm moving to Massachusetts.
I'm John, and retired. Worked 2 years as a professional engineer, and Don was one of my, I think he was the second year professor when I had him.
You were in one of my classes?
I think I was in one of your classes.
Oh my God.
Wow.
It's been a long time.
Yes, it has been, sir. And so, yeah, otherwise right now, somehow Jim and I got hooked up doing some other stuff on some model boats last year, and finished out doing some stuff this year, and we started working on this, and so I got to take him out in my London, show him what fishing is all about. And I've not done real well this year, but Mother Nature has not cooperated very well either. So, but you saw we had Carp Chaser 1 was here the other day.
Really?
It's a 4 foot long little boat. And they even got men on this one, because this one's for models. It's not going to break it yet.
Oh, right, I just got to do that. Thank you. I'm Jason. I do drive Uber, borrow this place as a shop. I also am the AV tech for Watertown Television. We had the 4th of July parade today, so I'm kind of beat, sorry. Fill out the truck, too. Anyway, I'm hoping to come here, make stuff for both the studio and for my work for Uber, so I just have to actually finalize one of those designs and actually get on the equipment to do it.
Well, thanks everybody for coming. Like I say, you're welcome to hang around. If you want to stare at this welding stuff, then it's all sitting up here. You can take a close look at the parts and do the rest of the video. You want to get the links.
No, I don't know. See, I don't think you're she got all right scores, good scores and everything. And so like 7 times I'm not going to take count. I'm going to take count. I'm going to take count. So you just got all of it. I mean, 4 years, 78 scores. So one being that was the class. So when they started, fully just having that. So I went to I look for a
And then I ran out in a little parking lot, and for now,
I think that's one thing. Like I was talking about, the first meeting, go back.
It starts out
like Joe's like, I was telling a lot of people about Joe's
So I got an engineering degree from Devin. Yes, I kind of engineering is a different area. But yeah, at that time I would have been in master's. I did a master's degree last year, so I made a whole lot of yeah, but also I graduated this professional for 5 years, and I won for and so I didn't have much to lose, so I said I was I started this up very slowly, and now we're purchasing our own building. And they're going to be mixed use development housing here. So we have to. No, it's all